Look at all these crazy camera setting things. This all seems way too much for us to just snap a picture. I mean, that's what we're in it for, is taking pictures. We're not in it because we love camera settings. Very, very few people are into photography because they like fumbling around with camera settings. Let's face it, if your camera could take a perfect picture on its own, you wouldn't even bother with camera settings. You'd never touch them. But your camera doesn't normally take a perfect picture on its own. So that's why we use camera settings, so that we can tell it what to do. We can tell it how to make the picture look. In order to understand camera settings, you have to understand what your camera is and how it sees. Your camera is really just a tool. It's a piece of technology, and it's able to capture a representation of the physical world. Realistically, your camera is as close as you're ever going to get to magic. I mean, think about it. It is incredible. You just press a button and your camera will actually capture what you see. And as photographers, we're obsessed with the things that we see. The problem is, far too often the camera doesn't capture things the way we see them or the way we want them to look in the picture. The biggest problem is that our camera is nowhere near as high tech or as high quality as our own eyes are. And what our own eyes can do automatically, like adjusting to the light, focusing on something, making the things that we're not looking at become blurry, all these things happen automatically. But with the camera, we've got to take control of all kinds of settings to make that happen. If we just leave it up to the camera, it's probably not going to do it the way we want. For the most part, we can make the camera do what we want it to. We just need to know what buttons to push. Our eyesight is psychological. We're able to see what we want to see and not notice what we don't want to see. You've heard of selective hearing, but our eyesight is just as selective. Our eyesight is psychological. Our minds are attached to it. But there is no mind automatically attached to the camera. Our minds are not automatically attached to the camera. Even if science fiction gives us the hope that maybe one day our cameras will just be wired right to our minds and we can record everything, that's not how it is now. If we want to connect our mind to our camera and make it do what we want, we do that through camera settings. The problem is we don't understand all the buttons and settings and how to make it do what we want to do. My camera setting micro lessons will help you take control of your camera one small step at a time. Some of these images here from the Google search are mine from an article that I wrote. This snippet rose to the top of over 9 billion search results. It became a snippet. And this is because I am obsessed with taking a difficult concept like camera settings and simplifying it, stripping away all the stuff you don't need to know, and explaining things in such a way that I think will make sense to you, even if it hasn't before.